Square Ball Podcast.
Phil Hay, playoff final, done and dusted. The dust has settled somewhat now. We are on Wednesday afternoon as we record this, and Leeds United in the Championship for another year. Where do we go from here?
Plymouth.
Stop it.
Portsmouth.
Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that's something to look forward to, isn't it? Yeah, hurrah. Basically, like every playoff experience I've ever had with Leeds, certainly like every playoff final experience I've ever had with them, it did feel like 2006 to an extent. It felt closer to 2008. I would say it was a strange game because I actually thought, and you've probably talked about this, but I actually thought for 15, 20 minutes, structure looked really good, pressing looked really good, it looked energetic. And then they conceded the goal that they've seemed to have conceded to Southampton about 8 times this season. Defence in a dogleg, not really in position, nobody tracking runners, in behind score. And I did have that horrible feeling as soon as that goal went in that might be that.
I think the entire Leeds ended, to be honest. Because
you just felt one massive grind coming, didn't you, to try and get back into the game. And I think the one thing you would say about Leeds is that when they are flat, this Leeds team, they find it hard to shake themselves out of that, find it hard to snap out of that fix of not playing as well as they can and not being particularly vibrant and just having a little bit of electricity running through them. And I guess the crucial part of the game was that period at the start of the second half where Southampton started to wobble. And yes, there was a chance for Dan James, which came off the bar. And I've got to say, from where we were sat, that looked like it was going in. It looked like no way that wasn't going under the crossbar. But it didn't. But I think that was the key period, that point after half time where suddenly Southampton didn't look as stable, didn't look as if they were as able to keep the ball and to hold Leeds off. That was really when goal needed to go in to change the game. And if I'm being honest, and I don't know what you two thought, I thought Southampton edged that. I thought they deserved to win.
Yeah, just about. It's hard to make an argument otherwise, isn't it? I mean, they weren't great,
no.
And Leeds United weren't terrible. It's just fine differences, isn't it?
Isn't that the frustration, though, and the similarity to previous playoff finals, that neither Doncaster nor Watford were particularly great in either of those games either, but did enough, got it done, and Leeds didn't lay enough on them to deserve to win the game themselves, and that I felt was Sunday.
How able are you to view it as a neutral? Because I was going to ask, as a neutral, was it a boring game? Because I suspect it was, but I know you also are.
He's not neutral.
I was going to say, you're a Leeds. You don't want to go to Plymouth either, is what I'm trying to say. Like you want to go back to Arsenal, don't you? Have the Ben and Jerry's ice cream freezer or whatever, whatever.
Yeah, it's gone that actually, which is a bit of an outrage. But the roast dinner at Manchester City is significantly better than the roast dinners in most Championship press lounges. So yeah, obviously, grave disappointment about that. I don't find any games like that boring because you know there's so much riding on it and it affects what you're writing and it affects what you'll be doing subsequently. And obviously you invested to the degree that you want it to go well for Leeds. I think if you were a neutral watching that, it's similar actually to the first leg against Norwich down at Carrow Road, where it felt on edge for anybody who had a dog in the fight, but I think for other people you just said this is not great. There were little moments in it where it kind of got interesting and there were half chances. But Leeds just didn't create enough, and they certainly didn't look dangerous enough until Dan James came off the bench. That did make a difference. Very unlucky not to score. But I spoke to a lot of supporters on the tube back, on the train back, and there wasn't a single person who really said to me, we were robbed today or we were unlucky today. Everybody just kind of said we just didn't get going.
Yeah, I don't think I heard a single complaint about the referee.
No, and actually even Farke said afterwards, he sort of toyed with the line of, he thought, he didn't think they were worse than Southampton, but he did say they were more effective. And I think of what was a fairly poor contest, which finals can be quite often, I think that sums it up quite well. They just were.
The Square Ball Podcast.